More and more past opponents of filibuster reform have been indicating that Republican intransigence over voting rights, their attempts to suppress the vote, and their lack of willingness to engage in anything like HR 1, the For the People Act, the John Lewis Act, all of that might change their stance and support some sort of reform. But not all of them, unfortunately. Senator Dianne Feinstein of the most liberal state in the country broke with colleagues who have said they would choose democracy and scrap the filibuster. She says, if democracy were in jeopardy, I would want to protect it, but I don't see it being in jeopardy right now. She said she wants to wait and see what happens with HR 1. Oh, good, let's wait until they filibuster and it's dead. Then we can talk about it. When asked if there were any filibuster reform measures she would support, she said, I'd have to take a look. Right now, nothing comes to my mind. And obviously there have been, for a while, some concerns about Dianne Feinstein. So the specific content, what she just said there is troublesome theoretically. The idea that she isn't even familiar with the potential filibuster reforms that have been discussed. And not even just, getting rid of it entirely, but potentially lowering the threshold for how many votes from 60 to 55 or something like that. Or making it a talking filibuster, or limiting the number of filibusters you can do, or any of these potential things we can talk about. Bridget, she just does, none of them are on her mind. But more importantly, democracy is not in jeopardy.
Yeah, that it's almost sort of, it's very frustrating to hear her say that. I don't know, it's like it feels like we're living in two different countries. The idea that democracy is not in jeopardy. Voting rights are being threatened all over the country right now. Access to abortion is being threatened all over the country right now. Like, I don't know what country she's living in, but it feels very different from the country that the rest of us are living in, where democracy is very clearly in jeopardy. Like, I don't see how someone could see what's going on and not think this is an urgent situation.
Yeah, I don't know what it would have to look like for it to be in jeopardy. But I definitely agree with your point that we are living in at least two different countries. Yeah, I love getting these statements from these old rich senators, and they're like, "What? I don't see a crisis." Well, yeah, if I were you, I probably wouldn't either, because I don't know anything that's going on. I don't know a single working person. I haven't had to do any actual work for literally decades, since before cable TV. Yeah, you probably don't understand it. So I don't know, maybe she's watching, maybe someone from her team is watching. Here's a little bit of what's been going on as you've been ignoring all of it. As of just May 14th, so it's not fully updated, but this is what the Brennan Center has. Legislators have introduced 389 bills with restrictive provisions in 48 states. These are provisions to make it more difficult to vote in a variety of different forms. 22 bills have already been enacted. That was as of the middle of last month. So just in about 3 months, 22 separate bills, 48 different states have been considering cracking down on voting. And that's what we focus on mainly. We've done a billion videos about that, but that's not the whole story. At the same time, and you can get details on this, Steve Bannon at MSNBC has links to individual examples of all this. They've been hijacking election administration systems in literally multiple states, actively undermining public confidence in election results. That's most of right-wing media over the last 6 months. Positioning far-right anti-election ideologues to serve as secretaries of states so that they're in position to overthrow elections if possible. Targeting poll workers, including pervasive death threats. Intensifying voter roll purges to take away people's ability to vote when they have every constitutional right to do so. Empowering poll watchers to intimidate people when they're trying to vote, preparing to exploit gerrymandering to create voter-proof majorities. That's not a new one, it's just gonna get a little bit worse now. And laying the groundwork to allow officials to overturn election results. And I mean explicitly, in the Texas bill, it says, if you believe that there was voter fraud, not even enough to actually overturn an election, you don't have to respect the results of the election. So all of this has been going on, Bridget, and none of this is enough to get through to Dianne Feinstein and convince her that something needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear everything that you just listed, I don't know if somebody from her team is watching, but it's very difficult for me to understand how someone could acknowledge all of these realities and still say our democracy is not having some sort of urgent crisis. And like you said, I mean, I just want to lift up the fact that we're not necessarily just talking about sort of fringe right-wing folks. This is stuff being pushed by mainstream publications and elected officials, and we've just sort of accepted it. Trump spoke at a rally in North Carolina 2 weeks ago where he still maintained that he had won the election and that it was rigged or stolen from him. So I don't know how she can say that we're not in the middle of some kind of crisis of democracy when all of this is going on.
Exactly, and 2/3 of Republicans believe that Biden won only because they stole it. Not that like I'm a little bit worried about things that happened or maybe it had some effect. No, it's Trump would have won, they stole it, so Biden won, that's it. Elections can't be trusted. Somehow the party that was out of power rigged all of these different states that are controlled by Republicans. That's what they believe, unfortunately. And while we've been trying to focus on Dianne Feinstein here, because we've obviously talked a lot about Joe Manchin, I just want to throw out his most recent statements about this. He says, this is yesterday, that things are going in the right direction, pointing to the passage of bipartisan bills cracking down on hate crimes and investing in tech innovation. Okay, I am glad that they got both of those bills passed. I am glad. Obviously, hate crimes always significant. The fact that there's been so much anti-Asian violence in America makes it even more important that we do something about this. By the way, some Republicans still voted against it. Just, I believe it was Josh Hawley, just look into that. The ability of the Senate to pass a couple of obvious, how could you turn against this unless you're Josh Hawley bills, does not mean that the process is working. But he says it's a process that we're all benefiting from. But in what way? So you got those two bills, but they filibustered the commission on January 6th. They filibustered reducing the gender pay gap. So when he says we're all benefiting, who's the we in that statement? Is it that
women who are still making less money to the dollar than
men? Yeah, I mean, I guess you're benefiting. I guess some of the Republicans who are ideologically quite similar to you are benefiting. I guess like your donors are doing pretty well. I guess you're benefiting, not necessarily the country though. So anyway, progress has been very slow on the filibuster, and that's only in a few people like Angus King, Jackie Rosen, but on others, Dianne Feinstein. So look at this. Manchin is in West Virginia, and he has to they say, well, no, it's super conservative. He has to be this way. Dianne Feinstein's in California, and this is the best that California can produce as a senator.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.